Ayubowan, Vanakkam. I'm Vioni Dimel. This is Boston Lanka News, bringing you news, views, and entertainment from Boston and USA. Is Rudrakumaran losing to Nediyavan in their leadership battle? Sri Lanka participates in the New York Times travel show. Sri Lankan children in New York keeping the dance tradition alive. The Nediyavan faction, with their active network capacity in countries with larger concentration of Tamils, seems to be getting stronger. Nediyavan now appears to be directly challenging the leadership of Viswanathan Rudrakumaran. Nediyavan also has the support of Reverend Father S.J. Emmanuel, the head of the Global Tamil Forum. We spoke to Shanaka Jayasekara, a terrorism researcher at the Center for Policing, Intelligence and Counter-Terrorism at Macquarie University, Sydney, Australia. Shanaka has done extensive research on the international network of the LTTE and has a good understanding of LTTE international operations. Shanaka joins from Sydney, Australia. In your view, Shanaka, what role Viswanathan Rudrakumaran has played as part of the LTTE network, and is he still promoting the same LTTE ideology?
I think you need to understand how the LTT operates. There are many spaces that represent or did represent the LTT in the past and still continue to represent the LTT at present. The LTT used different people in different roles, and in terms of its political and public relations arm, Viswanathan Rudrakumaran was actively involved in promoting the ideology of the LTTE. This is different to other roles that the LTT had for other people, such as Karunakaran, the head of the World Tamil Coordinating Committee in New York, who was basically the LTT military wing leader or the leadership structure in the US. So the LTT had different roles for different people, and definitely Rudrakumaran played a role on behalf of the LTT and its ideology in terms of its public face and its public relations agenda. And in fact, Rudrakumaran was the legal advisor to the LTTE during the peace talks between 2002 and 2006, and had direct contact and advised the military leadership of the LTTE during that period and thereafter. So definitely he has been associated with the LTTE and continues to propagate the LTTE ideology.
Recently, in spite of many appeals by TGTE to protest against Major General Shavindra Silva, who attended a meeting in Boston, only a few people turned up to protest. Is majority of Tamil diaspora distancing from TGTE, or is it a failure of Rudrakumaran's leadership?
I think it's both, in my view. I think the whole concept of transnational government doesn't go down well with the majority of the Tamil people. I think most rational thinking Tamil people have come to the realization that a separate state is not an option, and that is not the path that is going to be beneficial for the Tamil community in Sri Lanka. So I think there's a general consensus that a government in exile is a useless and a fruitless endeavor. But having said that, even Rudrakumaran himself is not a popular leader among the Tamil people, as well as within the transnational government of Tamil Eelam, as it's called. He may have got himself appointed as the pseudo prime minister in some sense. However, he's there with a very thin majority. The Nediyavan faction which is the more violent and militant faction of the LTTE international splinter groups that have now appeared, um, supported by the Global Tamil Forum faction, seems to be taking control of the TGTE. And in my view, that the days are numbered for Rudrakumaran to consider himself the leader of the TGTE. Um, I think I'm not. I think the Father Emmanuel faction or the Global Tamil Forum, together with the Nediyavan faction, I think is a far more dangerous element, far more militant, and a military uh, and has a military agenda, um, then could be far more dangerous than this fellow. But definitely, Rudrakumaran is not a very popular personality, even within the TGTE.
Shanaka, what exactly happened to the large amount of money LTT raised from foreign countries before it was defeated? And also, who inherited the resources of LTT, including its many business enterprises?
That's a very interesting question because at the time the LTTE was in existence as a centralized structure, there was very stringent record keeping processes controlled from Kilinotte. And furthermore, what was far more interesting for somebody studying or researching terrorism is the fact that they managed to enforce and ensure diligence in terms of financial transactions. Now, all those structures collapsed immediately after the defeat of the LTTE, and it was a situation in which it was a free for all type situation where the assets went in different directions. At the moment, the different factions of the LTTE which are operating in its international network tend to control much of the assets that it has. However, there are also parts of investments that the LTTE have made which have simply disappeared into people's pockets, who have just walked away from the LTTE, taking whatever investments that the LTTE made through such front people. Um, However, as you know, the LTT invested a lot of money in commercial enterprise, in things like spice shops, in things like communication centers, communication call centers, calling card business, um, petrol service stations, um, shipping networks. Many of those businesses still tend to generate an income, and the LPG elements are using this income uh, to propagate its activities globally. And there's a lot of money being thrown at political mobilization, especially in Europe, and influencing governments against the Sri Lankan government. So a lot of the assets are now being used uh, for uh, for mobilizing political support against the government of Sri Lanka. And unfortunately, the government of Sri Lanka doesn't have the capacity or the financial strength to meet such a challenge. And we've seen some incidents, especially in London, which is a good example of things to come in the future in other places. And I think it is important to take note of this and be aware of the level of political influence that the LGBT lobby is gaining in some of the Western capitals.
Thank you, Shanaka. That was Shanaka Jaisekara from Sydney, Australia. The 8th annual New York Times Travel Show, North America's premier travel show, was held in New York City from February 25th to 27, 2011. Sri Lanka Tourism and Sri Lankan Airlines took part in the show. The travel show featured nearly 600 exhibitors representing 150 countries. The world renowned Sri Lankan dance troupe Channa and Upuli performed on the Asia stage, which is one of 6 cultural stages at the show, featuring live performances and culinary presentations from around the world. Travel to Sri Lanka has increased dramatically in the past year, up 50% in 2010 compared to 2009. The increase is credited to the successful conclusion of Sri Lanka's conflict against terrorism in 2009 and a series of favorable travel articles praising Sri Lanka as a premier destination. Publications giving Sri Lanka top travel rankings include the New York Times, National Geographic Traveler, and the websites Daily Candy and Lonely Planet. Sri Lankan dance traditions are alive and well in New York due to the efforts of the Sri Lankan dance troupe in New York. Dance classes are being held for the children of the Sri Lankan expatriates once a week, and children of this dance troupe recently performed at the Sri Lankan Independence Day celebrations in New York. The dance instructor of the troupe, Nisha Hettiarachchi, joins us from New York. Nisha, could you please share with us a little bit about your dance troupe?
Yes, of course. The founder of this class is Mrs. Tanya De Silva. She started the class, I think, about 16, 17 years ago. And I joined the class in 2001. And since then, we've been doing this class for all the Sri Lankan kids. We have about 20 children, ages from 2 to 20, around 2 to 20. Now Tanya auntie is in Sri Lanka, so she handed over the class to me. So I'm doing all choreography and I'm teaching them. Something special about this class is we all do it as voluntary work. No one is getting paid, but children give like $5 to pay the rent of the studio. And there are some very devoted parents who are helping us to do this class. We also have a drummer. His name is Nalinda Piris. He's a very professional drummer and he's a student of Guru Piyasara Shilpadipati. Also, for a little while, Mrs. Sritani Ratnapala also taught us.
Thank you, Nisha. That was Nisha Hettiarachchi from New York. That concludes our news edition. We meet you again with another news edition of News, Views and Entertainment from Boston and USA. Till then, goodbye.